My most favorite type of question to present in this knowledge bite format is questions surrounding practical matters, ones that, well, actually just happened recently. Today's knowledge bite question is no different. In fact, it covers security, as you've probably already seen if you're following our LinkedIn posts here. But unfortunately, that was the positive side. The negative side was this actually was a security vulnerability that we identified on a new project that we have been taking over, and it was easily preventable. It was something that, had the previous developers known about this, it would have been easily resolved. And so, with that as the forewarning or the introduction, we are going to talk about what does it take to prevent this from happening in the first place, but also how to mitigate this problem if you do find this in a code base that you are beginning to oversee now. Joseph from SwiftOtter here. We make educational material for how to help developers become rockstar Magento engineers. We have a website, swiftotter.com. Go there, has lots of good information about Magento, how to become a better developer, as well as a whole bunch of really great courses to up your game, invest in your career bank, and become an even better developer. Let's take a look at this question, this very, very practical question here. So it goes like this. You are working on a Magento 2 store and see an API key hard-coded into a module. Question, how do you mitigate this security failure? Bonus question, what additional steps would you take in the comments below? We have several answers here. As always, we have their three plausible sounding answers, and it helps us the critical thinking to ensure that we are providing the very best answer to our client, to the staff that we are working with, our colleagues. Check this out. Leave the sensitive data as it is, since it's already hard-coded and changing it might cause issues with the functionality of the custom module. So the idea here is that we have a hard-coded information, and maybe because it's hard-coded, it's not necessarily publicly visible, at least on the surface. So maybe A could be an option here. B, encrypt the API key and leave the encrypted API key in the code. So in this option, we would be using the encryptor class in the Magento 2 framework to encrypt it, and then we would pull it back out of there, and then we would store that key in the code. C option would be to recreate the API key and then store it in the Magento configuration system. So out of these options, which one seems reasonable to you? I think you're going to pretty quickly discount A. That's kind of the conversation we're talking about. B, we can encrypt the key. And on the surface, this sounds reasonable, but it leaves a potential challenge. What happens if our crypt key changes? Well, then we're kind of skunked. We have a bit of a problem there. So B is plausible, but we have to say, is C a better answer? And I think we could all argue that C is the best answer. So a key point here is, and this completely depends on the environment that we are working with, right? There is a myriad of different environments that have all their own different rules when it comes to API keys. There's no standard. In an ideal world, we would have the capability to create a new key and then leave the old key in existence for a period of time. In some cases, for payment gateways, it can be immediate. In other systems, it can give you some amount of time to deprecate or get that old key out of the system. If this is associated with a security breach, we don't want the old key working at all. It might actually require a hot fix or doing this overnight or in off hours, just to make sure there is no effects from a key being created and then replaced from there. However, the one key aspect of this would be this last part of the sentence. We want to recreate the API key, yes, but we need to store it in the Magento configuration system as an encrypted key, not as one of these and you just copy and paste in here. This is obviously something that's important, right? So we would want to, one other option would be to take the old key, move it into store configuration, push this change out, and then replace that change once we get this code into production. There is still a timing, a synchronization area that we need to think about and make sure we are not going to be disrupting the business through this change process. But the key point is here, we have to get rid of this old API key, consider it a public API key. We have to replace it as quickly as possible, But we also want to make it so that we have a secure system for storing this. So whether that is in store configuration, that would be about the only place that works. Otherwise, you could store it in app.env, not the config file, but you would do that using the lock env format. But even then, you still have to create your system.xml file in order for that to be able to work correctly. So there's your answer for the week. Let's do a quick review here. You can see I have selected recreate the API key and store it securely in the Magento configuration system. The key point to remember here is the timing and avoiding disrupting business processes here through this change in the system. So great work on this. I look forward to seeing you around next week with yet another question from the great Isaac Phillips.